like that river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Said I'll go to the movie and I'll go downtown. Somebody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Then I'll go to my brother, and I said, brother, help me please. Then he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. There were times when I thought I couldn't last too long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
Hi, my name's Erica Robinson, and I work for the National Science Foundation as an accountant, and I am Black History.
The National Science Foundation proudly recognizes our very own history makers, who are not only advancing science, but are impacting their communities and the nation at large.
Here at the National Science Foundation, I provide management and oversight of interagency agreements, which pretty much means I ensure that universities, colleges, and other organizations receive funding in a timely fashion. Black history to me means being proud of who you are and utilizing your voice. I'm the first generation graduate of my family, and so growing up, my family lacked certain financial resources. As I graduated, I realized that there were other people throughout the community that also lacked those resources and access to that information. So I created a way to provide those tools and resources to other people in underserved communities. My name is Erica Robinson, and I'm making Black history through financial literacy.
Mine is an interesting story. Ron McNair, the late great Dr. Ron McNair, who became a friend of mine many years ago and unfortunately was killed on the Challenger accident, was my inspiration for becoming an astronaut. I never dreamed of being one until I met him when I was a test pilot. He challenged me to apply for the Space Shuttle program. So that's how I happened to apply, and that's how I happened to be here. You know, I think if anything, flying in space changed my perspective on our planet. I was always one that had been raised in a family that was relatively religious and studious, if you will. But just having the opportunity to view the planet from the perspective of space really changed the way I looked at the planet on which we live. You always remember two things. You always remember your last flight and your first flight. And I would have to go back to just after main engine cutoff on my very first flight on STS-61C aboard Columbia. Back then you didn't roll upright, so you were still upside down when you got to orbit. And I remember raising my seat, looking out, seeing the British Isles go by, and then this huge island that turned out to be the continent of Africa. I had done a lot of study on the geography of Africa to try to prepare myself, because I knew my folks had come from that continent and some countries down there. So I knew where all the countries were, and I looked out and it was just huge Sahara Desert, then the Midland part, the equatorial region of Africa, and no lines down there at all, no countries, no anything. I was just wiped out, and I was overcome with emotion, one, at looking at Africa, you know, my home country or my home continent, if you will, just overcome with emotion, and I just remember tears coming down my face. You know, I think among the lessons that I try to employ are those that have to do with people. I talk to people quite a bit about one of my most memorable experiences in my time in the astronaut office being the 2-year period of time in which I was involved in training for my last flight, STS-60, when I actually had an opportunity to meet and serve with Sergei Krikalev and Vladimir Titov, 2 Russian cosmonauts, former Soviet cosmonauts who came to the United States with their families and lived in Houston with us for a little bit more than 2 years. And it was during that period of time that we got to know each other, our families got to know each other very, very well, and I got what I always knew, you know, an appreciation for the human spirit, the fact that though we may be different for a lot of different reasons, whether it's national origin or ethnicity or whatever, that essentially we're all the same when we focus on a similar mission.
Here we have a scientist named Etasha Cave. We'll get back to her in just a second, but first, imagine that carbon dioxide, you know, the same CO2 found in your breath, factory emissions, or even your car muffler, could be converted into fuel, or essentially anything you can create from petroleum today. Now back to Etasha. She, along with her team at Opus 12, are doing just that, through funding and support from the National Science Foundation. Currently, they have created 16 carbon-based compounds from CO2 and are shedding a whole new light on how we see, well, use carbon dioxide.
The importance of this product would be that we can create a revenue stream out of carbon dioxide. So instead of throwing it away and emitting it into the air, a company could do something with it and actually create a new revenue stream out of waste CO2. We can put the CO2 conversion power of about 37,000 trees into something the size of a checked-in suitcase.
It was an unfortunate event close to home that sparked Etasha's interest in clean technology.
Growing up in a neighborhood that was adjacent to an oil and gas waste site, it was eventually found to be linked to higher rates of rare diseases and cancer. Seeing this as a teenager really got me thinking about, you know, is there different ways we can deal with waste? Can we have cleaner forms of electricity and that kind of thing? Our technology can certainly make an impact, help to slow down the global warming that's happening.
This Black History Month, the National Science Foundation proudly recognizes Etasha Cave, one of many groundbreaking scientists who are making tomorrow's history today.
My role as an aerospace engineer here at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center includes the design, fabrication, building, and testing of spaceflight hardware. One of the exciting projects that I'm working on is the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. It's the first mission going back to the moon since astronauts went there several decades ago. I also have the duties of designing some of the electronic hardware enclosures, which meant I had to do a lot of thermal and structural analysis to make sure that the hardware that's flying on the satellite would not overheat or break. Outside of work, I also get to pursue my other passion of athletics as a professional arena football player. In order to thrive, I have to do a lot of time management, and that's something that you have to master in everything that you do, and you have multiple passions and you can't focus on one particular one. One of the things a lot of people don't know about me is I also am a pretty good artist, and the design work gives me the opportunity to, I guess you could say, flex my artistic muscle in coming up with a lot of creative and unique designs in order to further NASA's mission. I didn't necessarily excel to the top of anything I did, but one thing I tried to do was make sure that I worked harder than the people around me. Sometimes the things you do now, you may not have the foresight to realize is setting you up for something great down the road. So you always try to do your best in everything you do.